Krishna Katha, who is such an accomplished leader who is always absorbed in Krishna Katha. So let's welcome Prabhuji once again by loudly chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. Very happy to be here in Achyut Yoga. Very thankful to His Grace Sridhar Gopal Prabhu and his team for having invited me and given a topic which resonates very much with my own personal struggle in Krishna consciousness. Subduing the demon Kalya, chastising the serpent Kalya. One of the only demons who was not killed, seemingly one of the unlucky demons. But there is a lot to learn from this transcendental narration. So let's start. I just would like to know the timings. It's 12 o'clock now. Till what time can we have this? Till 1. And is there scope for question answers? 5 minutes? Or including 1 hour, including question answers? Okay. Little Kirtan is okay. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन यशोदनन्दन भज जनरञ्जना यामुनतीरावनचारि यामुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Jaya Ram, Hare Ram, प्रणाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की श्रील प्रभुपाद की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्य उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साधुवैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिके वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरिः ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So the topic for today's discussion is very wonderful topic. It's called Krishna chastising the serpent Kalia. So I'm very happy. I know some devotees here. Very happy to meet them after quite a long time. And I hope all of us are struggling very nicely for the upcoming Janmashtami, the promotions, the fundraising, the various services, various departments. Um, in fact, every year during the Janmashtami, when we start the Krishna Katha series in various centers, the mood becomes more intense. It reminds me of the sacrifices which every devotee should make or should at least try to make during the Janmashtami season. Srila Prabhupada says in his purpose, a devotee is not eager to get rid of his anxieties. Rather, he is only anxious to serve Krishna. So that is the mood and mission behind our Janmashtamis. There are so many burdens of love and so many transcendental headaches which we all have to take uh, for this Janmashtami. We can try to walk in the footsteps of Vasudeva and Devaki, the kind of sacrifices which they made. Devaki seeing so many children being thrashed on a stone, and Vasudeva taking the burden of becoming a father, Vasudeva and Devaki taking the burden of becoming parents every time, despite knowing the destiny of their children, just so that they can take darshan of Krishna. The price which they paid is very intense. So this is the mission of our Janmashtami. कृष्ण अवलोकन बिना फल नहीं आन, जय जन कृष्ण देखे सही भाग्यवान. So the ultimate consummation of the eyes is to take darshan of Krishna. And those who have not taken the darshan of Krishna, their eyes are useless. Just like this kartal is there, what are the various ways in which we can use this kartal other than playing in kirtan? There can be various. Once I asked this question in one gathering, they gave me 20 different innovative ways in which we can use this kartal. Somebody told as a paperweight, somebody told self defense, they even became more graphic. But then the only bona fide use of this kartal is to play in kirtan, to engage in the service of Krishna. Similarly, the only bona fide use of the eyes is to take darshan of Krishna and not to see something horrible. Simply getting eyes to see birth, death, old age, and disease is not the purpose of these eyes. The purpose of these eyes is to develop anxiety to take darshan of Krishna. And for that, we all have to pay a very nice price. We all have to pay a good price. And that is the mood and mission of this Janmashtami. We have to take a lot of anxiety. We have to take a lot of intellectually planned decisions, nice strategically planned decisions, planning, organization, so that we can touch as many people as possible. His Grace Deen Bandhu Prabhu from Vrindavan says Janmashtami is actually the preparation for Radhashtami. Because we Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we want to offer many, many souls to the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. That's why we work so hard in Janmashtami to bring many, many souls to Krishna. And especially during this season when this Krishna Katha series starts, it is so much value addition because uh, it helps us understand what we are missing and how eager we should be to develop the desire to go back home, back to Godhead. So there are many benefits of hearing Krishna Katha. Shinvatah Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantostho hi abhadrani vidhanoti suhritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of a truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So, this is the biggest benefit of coming together in the association of devotees to hear Krishna Katha. I'm struggling with so many anarthas in my heart, and there is hardly any urge to hear Krishna's messages. One of our teachers once remarked that we are not here to eager to hear Krishna Katha, we are here eager to hear Swa Katha. Please glorify me and tell me how great I am. Swanvatam Swa Katha Krishna. And after that, little bit Krishna Katha. 99% my Katha, 1% Krishna Katha, just to show that I am a little bit religiously inclined. But here Swa Katha means Krishna Katha. And Krishna takes the charge of cleansing the heart of a devotee who is struggling with various anarthas. And even if the anarthas are not clear, they themselves, they don't get cleared. Suppose in this life it is not getting cleared, then this process of hearing Krishna Katha in itself is very virtuous. When properly heard and chanted, it makes the devotee spiritually pious. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Tesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata. So this process of hearing Krishna Katha makes us very determined in the practice of our Krishna consciousness, makes us spiritually pious. A person who has developed the urge to hear Krishna Katha is very glorious. But a person who is struggling to develop the urge to hear Krishna Katha is also glorious. Because such a person will know that this Krishna Katha comes from sadhus. So therefore, I have to be very respectful to the sadhus. If I am not respectful to the sadhus, if I put a beware of dog board on my gate and I chase away all the sadhus, then there is hardly any possibility for me to take shelter of these sadhus. So even the urge, the struggle to hear Krishna Katha is also very glorious. Makes one a winner. It's a win-win situation in all situations. And then talking about today's discussion, Krishna subduing the serpent Kaliya. In Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna subduing the serpent Kaliya. And in the BVT translation of the 16th chapter of 10th canto, it is written, Krishna chastises the serpent Kaliya. So the Kaliya, as you saw I saw a poster sent to me by Darshan Prabhu. In that it was written, the enviousness is the anartha which is represented by Kaliya. So all demons in Krishna Lila, they are very symbolic. They represent an anartha. And some demons are killed by Krishna, some demons are killed by Balram. And they are very, very symbolic, by which we should understand that for this particular anartha, I should take shelter of Krishna, surrender to Krishna. For this particular anartha, I should surrender to Guru Tattva, Balram, etc. Everything which happens in Krishna Lila is very symbolic. Even if Krishna lifts his right hand and does something, that is also having a deep meaning. So if you will see, Krishna has been killing various demons. In fact, I'm pretty sure some of the demons might have been killed by now in the previous weeks, if I'm not wrong. But why this serpent Kaliya was not killed? It represents the enviousness mentality. Now, even before we start discussing this whole Katha, I'll try to divide this Katha in two parts. One is the nectarian flow of this Katha. Shranvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. We will hear the nectarian flow, the pravaha of this Katha. And then we will dedicate good amount of time to see what are the lessons derived from this Katha. Whenever we hear any Leela of Krishna, we should try to understand the Leela with respect to the lessons learned. If I only hear the Leela and if I don't try to derive lessons, there is a chance that I may deviate into the Sahajya nature. And if I do not relish the Leela, only focus on the lessons, then my heart will become very hard. So there has to be a balance of both. So because in Kali Yuga it is a little difficult to focus on Krishna Katha. So let me tell you the Falashruti of Kalya Leela even before we discuss the Kalya Leela, so that we become alert. What is in it for me? So all those who sin with faith and devotion hear this Kalya Leela, they become freed from all the past sinful reactions. Those who with faith and devotion try to hear, process, understand, apply this Kalya Leela into their life, the Kalya mentality will be uprooted. What is Kalya mentality? Enviousness, wickedness, cruelty, malice, having malice in the association of devotees, non-devotional sentiments. This is called Kalya mentality. So if we, with faith and devotion, if we hear this, then the Kalya mentality will also be uprooted. Anybody struggling with Sarpa doshas, if anybody hears this Kalya Leela nicely, all the Sarpa doshas will also be eradicated. And another benefit is that generally a conditioned soul in the search for happiness is always hankering for something which he doesn't want, something which he doesn't have, and he is very afraid to lose that which he already has. So, hankering for something which I don't have and fear of losing that which I already have. This is the struggle of a conditioned soul. So, by hearing Kalya Leela, one loses this hankering and fear. Four benefits. First benefit is Kalya mentality being uprooted. Second, past sinful reactions cleared. Third, sarpadoshas. And fourth, hankering and fear of loss. Everything gone away. Na shochati, na kankshati. So, are you all excited after hearing this Falashruti? Okay. So, this Kalya Leela is a wonderful pastime. Krishna had entered the forest to graze his cows. Summer was beginning to come. The boys, the cows, the calves, after a long day of play and pasturing, they had become tired and they wanted to drink some water. However, when the boys they went to drink water from one of the lakes which was inside the river Yamuna. Please take note, this was a lake which was inside the river Yamuna. Lake means that portion of water reservoir where the water is not flowing. So there is a chance that a lake may be contaminated, but there is no chance that a river will be contaminated. Sometimes when we go to a river, we see a contamination. But if the water is flowing, all contamination is always washed away. But if it's a stagnant body like a lake, then there is a chance of contamination. So there was this lake in the Yamuna River, which was from where these boys, these calves, these cows, they drank the water. And after drinking the water, all of them became visibly affected. And they started fainting and they started losing their life. And they died also. Krishna was very much disturbed to see this happening. He cast his merciful glance upon those cows, the calves, and the boys and brought them back to life. Now, Krishna, even if he simply desires that let them come back to life, these people will come back to life. But he cast his merciful glance to give some extra mercy, some extra nectar on these boys, these cows, and these cows. And when they came back to life, they were quite sure, like, yeah, we were all dead. But it is the mercy of Krishna that we are alive now. And then Krishna understood that all this is happening because of some serious poisoning effect which has come in a lake. And Krishna decided that it is not proper that in the holy land of Vrindavan there should be a place which is not giving pleasure to the cows and my friends. It's not proper. So then, after reciting this much, the Bhagavatam starts a pastime where Krishna is jumping into the river and then trying to chastise the serpent Kali. But before we see that, let us try to understand why this is happening. The previous life of Kalya is told in the next chapter, that is the 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will go to the next chapter, discuss the previous life of Kalya, and then again come back, and then we'll again continue the discussion. So many references are given. Today I will be quoting from Garga Samhita. In the holy land of, or in the holy mountains of Vindhyachal, there was this Vedashira Muni who was performing austerities. And by chance of providence, another great sage called Ashwashira Muni came in the same place and sat in the same ashram as Ashwashira Muni was there. Sorry, Vedashira Muni was already there. So, although these great sages were great personalities, their only wealth was austerity, and their heart was full of transcendental knowledge, and they had lost the doership mentality from the core of their heart. But still, this enviousness is something very little difficult to get rid of. So Vedashir Muni started becoming angry that this whole Vindhyachal mountains are there. Why you have to come in my ashram only, in my area only, in my territory only to practice austerity? Sometimes this mentality comes even between the preachers. Suppose if a particular preacher is preaching in one particular block, E block, B block, C block, and if another preacher comes, then sometimes the preacher gets troubled. Why he has to come in my area only? I own all the living entities in this area, and nobody else should come to deliver anybody else here. I am the deliverer. So this mentality becomes troublesome, even in the present day context. As preachers, we should remember we are not here to deliver anybody. We are only here to share Krishna Katha for our own purification. So Vedashir Muni somehow, this shows that even after sincere, honest and sincere practice, sometimes last traces of enjoyable or enjoyer mentality remains. And to remove that, we need the intervention of the Lord. We are not trying to show fault in devotees, we are just trying to say how difficult it is to wash off the anarthas. That is the highlight here. So Vedashir Muni said, you got the whole Vindhyachal mountains, you got only my ashram to practice austerities. Ashwashir Muni said, don't act smart. The whole place belongs to Krishna. I can go wherever I want and I can do whatever austerity I want. In fact, you Vedashir Muni, you are so angry, you are hissing like a snake, may you become a snake. And may you always be terrified by Garuda. So when Vedashir Muni heard this curse, he was like, for a small disagreement, you have taken such a big revenge. You have acted like a crow. So may you become a crow. Sorry. May you become a crow, because crow's nature is like that. You disturb the crow a little bit, it will come again and again and attack you. So may you become a crow. At that time, immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared at that place and he stopped the quarrel between these two honest and sincere devotees. The Supreme Lord said that, see, you should not fight. And by this time, both of them were already repentant that we should not have cursed and counter cursed each other. Lord Vishnu is saying, both of you are like my two arms. And I feel very sad when you both inflict pains towards each other. It is possible, I can try to prove my own words false, but it is not possible that the words of my devotees will turn false. So, whatever you people have cursed and counter cursed each other has to come true. But because both of you are my devotees, I will personally get involved. My dear Vedashir Muni, when you will become a snake, I will personally come and make you fortunate by putting the dust of my feet and the footprints of my lotus feet on your head, so that you will become famous everywhere as the carrier of my lotus feet imprints on your head, and you will never be terrified by Garuda. And my dear Ashwashir Muni, don't worry. You will become a very, although you will be a crow, but you will be like a lamp light on transcendental knowledge. Anybody has any doubt in the Vedic literature, they'll come to you. You'll be my great devotee when I will incarnate as Ram, and you'll be known as Bhushunda or Bhushundi, Kak Bhushundi or Kak Bhushunda. And my dear Vedashir Muni, you will take birth as Kalya. So this is the past life of these two great personalities. So Kak Bhushundi we are not going to discuss today, but we'll focus only on this Kalya Leela. Of course, there are many more references, but this reference is something which, you know, very much relates to this enviousness mentality, because how this enviousness doesn't leave a sadhaka or a spirit soul, and it follows one from one life to another life. That is what is being highlighted by this pastime. Now, this Kalya has taken birth in the Chakshusha Manvantara. Presently, which Manvantara is going on? Can somebody tell me? Manvantara, what is Manvantara? Any idea? The duration of the time for which a Manu rules is called. Very good, very good, very good. Vaivasvata Manvantara. So the first Manvantara, first Manu was Swayambhuva Manu. So he is called as Swayambhuva Manvantara, and then Chakshusha Manvantara, and then presently Vaivasvata Manvantara. If I am not wrong, this is the seventh Manvantara. Each Manvantara has 71 yoga cycles. So we are in the seventh Manvantara and the 28th yoga cycle. So you can calculate 7 into 71 plus 28. Those many Chatur Yoga cycles have passed in this day of Brahma. So Chakshusha Manvantara is, I think, the fifth Manvantara. I may be not correct. Fifth, fourth or fifth, we have to clarify. So in that Manvantara, Kalya took birth from the womb of Kadru. As when Chakshusha Manu gave his daughters to, I think, Prajapati. So from there, Kadru, one of the wives, gave birth to different kinds of serpents, including Vasuki, including Kalya. On the order of Lord Brahma, the serpents, they took shelter in lokas like Sutal Lok, Vital Lok, Atal Lok, Patal. Ananta Shesh went lower than Patal also to lift the Bhumandala, the planets of the Bhumandala. And that pastime is there where Ananta Shesh asks, I am lifting the Bhumandala, who will lift me? So the Lord says, I will come as Kurma and lift you, don't worry. So at that time, Kalya is staying in the same planet as Vasuki. And Garuda keeps coming every now and then, trying to eat the serpents. Vasuki goes to Lord Brahma and he says that this is too much chaos. We want some order. We want some system, some organization as to who will die when. So Brahma ji brings a peace treaty between Garuda and the serpents. And once on the half moon day, every half moon day, one of the serpents will be sacrificed under a tree and will be left for Garuda to eat, so that the entire serpent community is not very afraid and feeling the tribulations. But Kalya was always envious of Garuda because Garuda was the brother of Kalya. There were many wives of Prajapati. One of the wives was Kadru and another co-wife, and their son was Garuda. So he didn't like why Garuda is getting so much importance. Always jealous, enviousness. So one day, what he did, this Kalya, he ate the serpent which was kept as an offering to Garuda. So obviously, Garuda became angry and he said that, see, you are my brother. If you want, you take my meal, no problem. But at least communicate to me, no? So, no, I will not communicate. But then, if you don't communicate, this is setting a wrong example also. People are not valuing this treaty which has happened. And then it will lead to anarchy. People will say today today Kalya is eating, tomorrow somebody else will eat, day after tomorrow will not offer only. So then I will have to become violent. And because of your arrogance and enviousness, many people will suffer. Can one person's mistake cause many people to suffer? That was the question which Garuda asked. Kalya said, I don't care. So then Garuda said, I need to teach you a lesson now. So Garuda started beating and fighting, and then he started chasing Kalia, and Kalia was running from one place to another, from one planetary system to another, on one Dweepa to another, from one Khanda to another, but wherever he went, Garuda was following him. So ultimately, Kalia took shelter of Ananta Shesh, and he said that you are the master of all serpents. Please give me protection from Garuda. So Anant Shesh said that, see, if Garuda starts chasing you, there is indeed no shelter for you. But there is one place in the river of Vrindavan, in that lake called Karya Harda. That time it was not called Karya Harda, but it was called just a lake, where you can go take shelter because Garuda is not allowed to come there due to a curse. Then there's another pastime which comes that there was another Muni called Saubhari Muni who did 10,000 years of austerity under in that lake of Yamuna. And because seeing his austerities, all the fishes they took shelter of Saubhari Muni. Austerity and purity, they make one very attractive. That's why Srila Prabhupada used to say, purity is the force. So all the fishes, they took shelter. The king of the fishes also took shelter, and whatever problems, they used to come to him and he used to solve it. But Garuda started coming to that lake and started eating the fishes. The king of the fishes complained that, see this Garuda, he's eating us. So although Garuda was senior in authority, was senior in his practice of Krishna consciousness, was an eternal associate of Krishna, and Saubhari Muni, resident of the material world, was in no position to question the activities of an eternal transcendental personality, but having attachment to his followers, he ended up cursing Garuda that if you come again, you will die. Now Garuda showed Vaishnava etiquette just like when Indra had thrown a thunderbolt on Garuda, just to keep value or maintain the significance or the value of the Vajra, he just shed some feathers to show that yes, Indra's Vajra is invincible. So similarly, just to show some value to the words of Saubhari, he did not come in that lake again, but this had severe consequences on Saubhari. What he did was Vaishnava Prad, severe Vaishnava Prad. And as a result of which, he fell down from his position where he was relishing Krishna consciousness. He lost all his taste in Krishna consciousness. He became very materialistic. He came out, he married all the princesses, all the daughters of King Mandhata, and then got so much involved in materialistic family life that he forgot everything, almost everything about Krishna consciousness. That was his situation. So Kalia went and took shelter of that lake. Now from Chakshusha Manvantara till our Swayam Vaivasvata Manvantara, the 28th Yuga cycle, when Krishna comes, he was residing in that lake, and that's a very, very long time. Because of his residence in that lake, this whole lake had become so poisonous that it is said that even if a bird would fly on top of the lake, the poisonous fumes were so much that the bird will fall down and die. Even demigods were afraid to fly over the lake because it was so poisonous due to the influence of Kalia. In the BBT purports, you will read that Kalia knew this Jalastambhan Vidya, the process or the Vidya of converting water into a hall like this, or solid structures with pillars and all. So he made his own palace inside water and he was very comfortably staying there. But the presence of an envious person, the presence of a serpent creates a lot of problem. All the trees around were dead, all the grasses were burned, the whole lake had become contaminated, and Krishna was not able to tolerate this. So, therefore, after bringing his friends back to life, he got up on a tree. This tree was the only tree which was remaining alive. Because again, there is another Katha during Samudra Manthan time, when Garuda was carrying the nectar. At that time, the Garuda had waited to drop one drop of nectar on this tree because Garuda knew that this tree would be later used in the service of the Lord. So, the lesson learned here is that if we also prepare ourselves to be used in the service of the Lord, we will be nourished by the nectar of mercy coming from Karuna Sindhu Krishna. This also means that even if we are not qualified to do any seva, the moment we try to do any seva, in that very moment empowerment happens. So this tree had volunteered that I want to become that tree which will help Krishna to jump into this lake. So it became very important. The demigods planned that some nectar should be put on it. Until now, the tree is still surviving. Even now, when you go on Brajmandal Parikrama, Vrindavan Parikrama, I think you will see that tree. Very beautiful. Can you imagine how old that tree is? So Krishna put his leg on that tree, and then he climbed that tree. He tightened his dhoti. He tied his hair on the top the way Lord Chaitanya used to tie. And then he jumped into the water. Now, a 7-year-old boy, if he jumps into the water, what will be the impact in a lake? Negligible. But here, Krishna is showing his power as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he jumped, the water, the poisonous water got splashed for 100 bow length. One bow is the height of a fully grown man. I mean, from Kali Yuga assumption. So that much bow length, the water splashed. And Krishna is jumping into the water and then he is swimming across, playing and fluttering the water here and there and making musical sound vibrations. Huge noise. Basically, he was telling Kalia, I'm here. Whatever you can do, you do. It was like just like when one gang comes in another area, they make some huge noise to make the other gang know that, see, I'm here. Jo karna hai kar lo. So like that, Krishna came in. And Kalia was very much disturbed that who is this who has come in my lake? Now we are talking about Vrindavan. Vrindavan belongs to Krishna. But here is a Kalia who is thinking, who is this who has come in my lake? I'm here since such a long time. Who is it? Who is the infiltrator here? Who is the trespasser? The trespasser will be prosecuted. And Kalia became so angry. He thought that this musical sound vibrations coming on water is a challenge to my authority. This is how envious people are. Anything anybody will do, they will think it is a challenge to my authority. So Kalia, with huge speed, he started coming up. And when he was coming up, first thing which Kalia saw was the beautiful lotus feet of Krishna, which was softer than the softest beds or the petals which he had come across. It was bluish, blackish in color. And then he slowly saw the beautiful, yellow, shiny, dazzling, electrifying dhoti of Krishna. Then he saw the beautiful navel of Krishna, which is the source of the whole creation. Then he saw the beautiful chest of Krishna, endowed with Srivatsa and Kaustubh jewel. Then he saw the beautiful neck of Krishna, which is endowed by 3 lines which mark a conch shell. And then finally, when he came up, he saw the beautiful smiling face of Krishna. For some time, Kalia could not understand, what am I seeing? Who is this? I started with great anger to chastise this person, but after seeing him, my emotions are changing. But then, because of his nature as a serpent, he enwrapped Krishna and he bit him. Sripad Sanatan Goswami, he's the only Acharya who comments like this. He says that Kalia said that, my dear Lord, I know nothing else other than biting. Please consider my biting as my kiss, and I don't know anything other than enwrapping people in my grips. Please consider that my embrace, and accept my contaminated nature in your service. Sanatana Goswami gives this interpretation. Other acharyas, they don't speak like this. And then, for 2 hours, Krishna remains in the coils of the serpent Kalya. Imagine a snake which is, I don't know the length and breadth of Kalya, but which is having 100 main hoods and 900 secondary hoods, 1000 hooded snake. Very, very big. Smoke coming out from the nose, poison coming out from the mouth, and fire visible in the eyes, reddish. Imagine if you see such a big snake and you see your child wrapped in its coils. How will you feel? How many of you have children? Imagine seeing your child in the wraps of such a snake. How frightening a scene it would be. Now, Vrajvasis were not feeling like this because they used to love Krishna more than their own child. In Kali Yuga, sometimes people come and say, मेरे घर में कृष्णा पैदा हुए हैं, मेरे घर में राधा पैदा हुई है. This is not the right consciousness. Right consciousness is when I see the activities of my child, I get reminded of the activities of Krishna. Not that when I hear the pastimes of Krishna, I feel like loving my child more. No. That is incorrect consciousness. Right consciousness is everything has to be dedicated to Krishna. So these Vrajvasis, starting from the trees on the banks of Yamuna river, or the cows, the calves, the people of Braja, they had dedicated everything which they had for the service of Krishna. So when they saw Krishna in the wraps of Kalya, they became dead almost. They didn't know what to do. The cows started crying and started falling down like this. The boys fainted. The birds became very dull and started falling down. And there were some inauspicious omens which were coming out. Meteors were falling down, earthquake was coming. The different parts of the body of different people were shaking. And all of a sudden in Vrindavan, they came to know that today is Balram's birthday and his mother has kept him back to do some extra shingar and extra prasad feeding. And Krishna has gone out to herd the cows without the protection of his elder brother Balram. And when they came to know this, they became so afraid. That definitely something has happened to Krishna. Today, maybe we are going to lose our Krishna. And all of them, without checking their WhatsApp message, without setting their Instagram status, without seeing anything or considering for anything, they just ran. But after running for some distance, they wanted to know, but how do we find him? Where is he? So somebody said, let's watch his footprints. And they started watching his footprints and they reached the banks of Yamuna. There was only one person who was unaffected by this transcendental anxiety, and that was Balram. Because Balram knew that a normal tiny snake of this material universe, what can he do to Krishna? In fact, he was laughing that, my dear Lord, when you want a resting place as Ananta Shesh, you use me eternally, or you engage me eternally in your seva as a resting place. But when you want to play, you are using an insignificant snake. Why don't you play with me? So Balram was having these kind of thoughts. And then all of them, they saw Krishna and they wanted to save Krishna. Oh my God, time is already over. They wanted to save Krishna. They wanted to get into the water. But the water was so poisonous that nobody was being allowed there. Balram was the one who was stopping everybody. He was stopping people by his words. Some people he was stopping by his strength. And those who were unstoppable by his strength and by his words, he used to just smile at them and then they used to stop. So in this way, Balram was doing his best. When Krishna understood that the Vrajvasis are about to die now, their separation or their suffering has reached its climax. No more further boiling of milk can be done. No more further viraha rasa can be entertained. So at that time, he immediately started expanding his body, and the terrible Kaliya could not restrain the strength of the expansion, so he had to give him up. And then the whole pastime starts where Krishna bends or catches one of the hoods of Kaliya and puts his leg on it and jumps on him. And then he very beautifully starts dancing. But before dancing, he beats Kaliya up also. He threw Kaliya for yards together, and then again, when Kaliya comes back, he punches Kaliya. So, all that description is there in Garg Samhita. How he punched, and how he killed, how he whirled, and how he threw. Those who like action, they can read those sections. Very nicely, he beat Kaliya up. And then ultimately, he decided to dance on the hoods of Kaliya. This is also called as the dance of surrender. He was forcing Kaliya to surrender by dancing on his hoods. Every time when he was dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, another hood was coming up to bite and poison Krishna. But then Krishna would again catch that hood and thump it so hard that the bones and the muscles and the ligaments and everything would break. This dance was so beautiful that all the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, they all started giving transcendental music and showering flowers and creating the melody. And Krishna was dancing like Nataraj, the original dancer. During the dance, he danced so much on the serpent Kaliya that Kaliya first started exhuming or spitting out the fumes and the garbage and the poison. And then Krishna continued to dance till such an extent that blood started coming out from the hoods of Kaliya. And at that time, Kaliya understood he is none other than the master of Garuda. Because only Garuda can beat me up like this. And if he is beating me up more severely, that means he must be the master of Garuda. So I have to surrender. But he was not able to surrender because of the enviousness. So at that time, the wives of Kaliya, they started coming. They were in a hurry. Earlier, they were thinking, anyways, this husband of ours is not a devotee. Anyways, this husband is not into Krishna consciousness, and let him get beaten up little bit. And then when they saw that he's about to die, then they immediately came with their children. They put their children, you can read Bhagavatam, they put their children in front of them as if saying, Hamare bacche hain sahab, हमको छोड़ दो साहब, हमारे कुछ कर दो साहब. Like that, in that mood, with hairs untied and not proper arrangement, and in a big hurry, they came and they started praying to Krishna. So there are around 33 verses which are different prayers to Krishna, which exhibit the various philosophies. But there is one prayer which is very close to my heart, which is the summum bonum of all the prayers which they did, is the verse, the 60th verse of the 16th chapter, which says, Bhavan hi karanam tatra sarvagno jagadishwaraha anugraham nigraham va. What is that last line? Anugraham nigraham va. Bhavan hi karanam tatra sarvagno jagadishwaraha anugraham nigraham va. Okay, last line I'm forgetting. Huh? Manasya tad videhinaha. Basically, this prayer says, my dear Krishna, you give us whatever you want. If you think we deserve punishment, you give us punishment. If you think we deserve some reward, you give us reward. Because we don't know what we deserve. We don't know whether we deserve punishment, whether we deserve reward, what kind of existence we deserve. You are our best well-wisher. You give us whatever you want. This is the summum bonum of all the prayers of Nagpatni. And then, hearing the prayers of Nagapatni, when he heard the glorification of Krishna from the mouth of the devotees, not by personal association of Krishna, by the personal association of Krishna, in the association of devotees, when somebody heard the glorification of Krishna, he was able to give up his envious mentality. And then Kali also started praying. Please see the sequence of events. Then Kalia started praying, and then Kalia also surrendered, and then Krishna ordered him, leave Vrindavan immediately, never you can come back. You go to the Ramanaka Islands, which is presently known as Fiji. Fiji is the only ISKCON temple where you don't find Radha Krishna deities, but you find Kalya Krishna deities in ISKCON Fiji. And don't worry, I have put my imprints on your head, so Garuda will not disturb you. And in this way, Kalya is the only demon which was not killed, but rather banished from Vrindavan. I will take another 5 minutes to highlight some lessons learned from this whole pastime. As I already explained, this anartha of Kalya is the enviousness. So, enviousness has no place in Krishna consciousness. The result of this envy is that one is banished from Vrindavan. One is banished from the association of devotees. So that is the lessons which we learn from here. These envious people, they will always come and try and pollute the whole environment of Krishna consciousness. Now, devotees are not fault finders. They could not detect a false guru like Putana. How they can detect a serpent like person who is very good in dressing up and very good in speaking and very well mannered and well behaved, Hare Krishna Prabhu? So how will devotees detect all this? Devotees are also not able to detect. But Krishna takes charge. Even if an envious person comes in the association of devotees, devotees are being simple hearted, they are not being able to detect, but Krishna takes charge. In fact, for some time, Krishna allows even envious people to enter the association of his devotees, having hope against hope that maybe this person will change. But then, when Krishna realizes that this envious person is not giving up his envious mentality, just like Kalya was banned from Vrindavan, the envious person also gets banned from Vrindavan. But still, Krishna will come to protect his devotees. A person who is banned from Vrindavan, see Kalia, although he was banned from Vrindavan, but he was still protected by the footprints of Krishna. So even if a person is not welcome in the association of devotees, other devotees should think that he is still protected by Krishna. Just because one devotee has been asked to leave the devotee association doesn't mean that he has been rejected by Krishna also. Krishna can never reject his devotees. Srila Prabhupada used to say there is no limit to the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. We see this example of Kalya Krishna Das, who accompanied Mahaprabhu to the South Indian tour, and then he got carried away by the gypsy clan. What were they called? Bhattaharis. Bhattaharis. So he got attracted by the women of the Bhattahari clan. The job description of the Bhattahari clan was find out some high class person begotten by Gardan Samskaras and some nice cultured men and beget children from them. So Mahaprabhu during the South Indian tour came and reclaimed Kalya Krishnadas. But when he went to Puri back, he rejected him immediately. Calling Sarvabhaumacharya, see what kind of a man you gave me. I don't want him. But then Nityananda Prabhu, what he did, he said that, what? You have come back, we want to inform your mother that you have come back with some prasad, we want to send him there. Mahaprabhu said, okay, do whatever you want. So in that way, Nityananda Prabhu again engaged this Kalya Krishna Das in service And then later on, all the notes of the South Indian tour was dictated by this Kalya Krishna Das. So what do we learn from this pastime? We learn that somehow or the other, Krishna always gives protection to his devotees. But yes, if a devotee is envious, if he is wretched, then there is a good chance that he'll be thrown out of Vrindavan. This is the lesson which we learn here. And Krishna allows such things to happen. Krishna allows these devotees to enter and create some chaos just to increase the love between each other. Sometimes devotees go through various phases in which they have to, tolerate the shortcomings of each other. That makes a devotee a Sankirtan devotee. Because it is easy to do Kirtan, but it is not easy to do Sankirtan. It's easy to exist alone, but it is a big austerity to stay in association, understanding that everybody has a huge scope to progress in Krishna consciousness. Because there is no limit to excellence in Krishna consciousness. His Grace Harikshatra Prabhu puts this as like we are all unpolished diamonds with rough edges and put into one potli, and then somebody is whirling this potli and everybody is brushing against each other, and then when all will come out, they will all be shining like diamonds, fit to be used in the worship of Krishna. Just like in this Kalya Leela also we see, before Kalya and his wives they leave, they worship Krishna. So only when we take the austerity of remaining in the association of devotees, we can give up sense gratification, which is the root cause of enviousness. You know, we have to remember that the root cause of enviousness is sense gratification. I would like to read something from the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. If we can give up our sense gratification, then there is some hope that we'll give up our enviousness. And Srila Prabhupada's BBT purports, they highlight it very nicely. Please listen. This is 11.3.30. How to give up sense gratification. Why do we need to give up sense gratification? Because that leads to enviousness. And we saw the harm of being envious. The BBT verse says, one should learn how to associate with devotees in the spirit of cooperation, gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. So, when we stay in the association of devotees and when we come together to do Hari Katha, to discuss about Krishna, not just chit chatting. Even in private, when we meet, we should discuss Krishna Katha. When we do that, that process is very purifying. And because we are discussing Krishna Katha, we are taking part in Krishna Katha, that will develop loving relationships, loving friendship. Earlier, I am finding my happiness and satisfaction in sense gratification. But if I come together to hear Krishna Katha, I will find happiness and satisfaction in the association of devotees. So listen. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And thus, by encouraging one another, they are able to give up sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. When we hear one devotee, oh, you stopped sleeping till 7 a.m. Oh, you started waking up at 5 a.m. I will also. In this way, the first step is to come together. Step number 2 is to chant Hare Krishna and hear Krishna Katha together, which is a great austerity. It is easy to do alone, but not easy to do together, especially in Kali Yuga, age of quarrel and importance. Sankirtan. So first step, come together, stay together, chant Hare Krishna, Hear Harikatha. Develop loving relationship. In that loving relationship, find mutual happiness and satisfaction. And then encourage one another to give up sense gratification. If this is gone, then enviousness is also gone. Beginning to go. Still, we may feel like giving up enviousness is not in our hand. So, I would like to quote another verse from the 10th canto, chapter 13, shloka number 60. 10, 13, 60. How to give up enviousness, very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada. This is probably one of the last purports of Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam. The word vana means forest. We are afraid to go to the forest and do not, we are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together when they go to drink water and they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification. Again, Prabhupada is highlighting envy develops because of sense gratification. But in Vrindavan, there is no sense gratification. For the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and they supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here, take little milk." Thus, envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, the forest, but in Vrindavan there is no such horror. Everyone is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Parau. Whether a Goswami or a tiger or other ferocious animal, everyone's business is the same. Please Krishna. Even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everybody is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy, everyone. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find the monkeys are allowed to take butter from the hands of Krishna himself. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has a right to live. This is Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, this is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. Now, this is the line which I am trying to highlight and which I am trying to humbly present for the pleasure of all devotees here. And I'm trying to say it to myself so that I can remember. Srila Prabhupada says, this mentality, this non envious mentality, cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness by sadhana. By sadhana, one can come to this platform. So there is hope. There is always hope um, to become purified. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtana. There is always hope if we continue to remain in the association of devotees, if we continue to chant Hare Krishna and hear Krishna Katha, developing loving relationships, finding mutual happiness and satisfaction, encouraging each other to give up sense gratification. And if we continue our sadhana of chanting 16 rounds, following the four regulative principles, reading the books of Srila Prabhupada, eating prasadam, then by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Krishna, we will one day reach the platform of being non-envious. And we will one day be able to dedicate everything for the pleasure of Krishna. And we will one day be able to understand what it means to be a Brajvasi or what it means to be in Vrindavan. And even if that is not happening, even if I remain an envious rascal, Somehow or the other, I have to stick to this Sankirtan movement, never leave this Sankirtan movement, because there is no limit to the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So this is what I wanted to present in terms of this whole pastime of Kalya. It represents a very serious anartha, that is enviousness. If we are not eager to reduce our sense gratification and take the austerity of Sankirtan, then we will not be able to give up this enviousness and will be thrown out of Vrindavan. Although we will still be protected by Krishna, but we will not have the joy of associating with others, other devotees. However, a great spiritual wealth is waiting for us if we take the austerity of remaining in Sankirtan and voluntarily, as a sadhaka, honest and sincere sadhaka, if we reduce our sense gratification by strict sadhana, we can hope to get some mercy from Guru and Krishna so that we can reach the platform of offering everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Thank you very much. This was the summary of Kalya pastime. Of course, there is no limit to this pastime. Anybody who thinks that they have understood Kalya pastime, my humble obeisances to them. Even Lord Brahma cannot understand this Leela. There is no limit to any pastime of Krishna. Even in Putana Leela, you know, I was just trying to find out why Krishna closed his eyes. I have asked so many devotees, I've tried to read. I found 19 reasons why Krishna closed his eyes before killing Putana. And I've understood that this is just the beginning. So, similarly, there are various aspects of Kalya Leela which different devotees, as far as the birds fly in the sky, or to the degree to which various devotees have their realizations, to that degree they share Krishna Katha. Whatever I've heard from my seniors, I've tried to present here, highlighting the enviousness as the central aspect, how to reduce enviousness, and there is always hope in Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna.